So here we're just going to do a quick review over some rules for addition. If you're adding two numbers and they have the same signs, if both numbers are positive, the answer will be positive. So 3.2 plus 5.3 will be positive 8.5. If you're adding two negative numbers, the answer will be negative. So negative 3.2 plus negative 5.3 is negative 8.5. Remember, I like rewriting these problems negative 3.2. Adding a negative is the same thing as subtracting a positive, minus 5.3. That would be the same thing, negative 8.5. Either way you write these though, it means the same thing. When there's different signs, if you're adding two numbers and the negative number is bigger, so what I mean by that is that the number looks bigger if you don't look at the negative sign. The answer is negative. We have 3.2 and negative 5.3. Obviously you know 3.2 is bigger than negative 5.3, but if I cover up this negative sign, 5.3 looks bigger than 3.2, which means the negative number is bigger. It's going to win in a fight, which means the number is going to stay negative. If the positive number is bigger, 5.3 is bigger than 3.2. So when I do negative 3.2 plus 5.3, the answer is going to end up being positive. So looking here, we have just some addition and subtraction problems. Here I've got 3.7 minus negative 4.2. If you ever subtract a negative, so we talked about adding a negative is the same thing as subtracting a positive. Subtracting a negative is just addition. These two minus signs, so I want you to think about, we've got these two minus signs. What they're going to do, we're going to combine them into a plus sign. Okay, so when you have two negative signs in a row, so when you subtract a negative, they make a plus sign. So instead of 3.7 minus negative 4.2, the two minus signs form a plus sign. So it's 3.7 plus 4.2. And that makes this problem a lot easier. 3.7 plus 4.2 is just 7.9. Down here I've got negative 1.2 minus negative 4.8. Subtracting a negative, that's going to change this negative 1.2. And notice, this negative is still negative because it weren't two negative signs in a row. But now here I'm subtracting negative 4.8, which means I'm just going to add 4.8. And now I've got negative 1.2 plus 4.8. That gives me 3.6. Down here, this is about as tricky as it's going to get for today. 3/4 minus 5/8. I have fractions, but I need to have a common denominator first for 8. Hopefully you can see the least common multiple would be 8. So 5/8, negative 5/8 is already good. With a common denominator, I need to convert 3/4. So I would do 3/4 times something to have it have a denominator of 8. Well, 4 times 2 is 8, so I multiply the numerator by 2, and I would get 6/8. So now I'm just going to rewrite this problem with my common denominators. Instead of 3/4, I'm going to write 6/8, because remember, that's the same thing. Minus negative 5/8. But this is just another example of what we just talked about. Subtracting a negative is the same thing as addition. So instead of 6 minus negative 5/8, we're going to do 6/8 plus positive 5/8. And now I have a common denominator. Remember, when you add or subtract fractions, the denominator doesn't change. 6 plus 5 gives me 11, and I'm okay if you just leave this answer as 11/8. If you want to write it as a mixed number, that would be 1 and 3/8. Either way you do this is fine. I would accept both these answers. And that's all there is for this lesson. Hopefully all it is just a review of things you've already done. Adding and subtracting fractions, adding and subtracting decimals with some negatives mixed in.